You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
Hello, I'm Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, and welcome to today's issue of Coffee with Rhadi. Coffee with Rhadi was inspired a couple of years ago, and as a matter of fact, I've written a best-selling book, Coffee with Rhadi, which is available on Amazon.com. Now, I would like to speak with you about something today that is very important. I get a lot of emails, a lot of Facebook comments, a lot of Facebook messages, and a lot of questions about how I'm able to do so much in a day, so much in a year. I can tell you this right now. 365 days ago, I never imagined that I'd be in the position that I'm in right now. I communicate to over 100,000 people almost every day through videos, emails, and blog posts. A few years ago, I never thought I'd be in the position that I'm in now in terms of speaking. I've spoken with the Navy SEALs, United States Navy SEALs. I've spoken to all the schools in the CIAA. All the football programs. I have spoken to the Stafford University Cardinals before they played in the Orange Bowl. I've had the opportunity to speak to corporations, to schools, to high schools, to churches. I've been everywhere. I never really believed that I would be in this position, and I wasn't in this position until I believed I could be in it. And what I want to speak with you about today is about a mistake that I made a few years back. And one that it doesn't haunt me, but it comes to mind often when I have to answer this question to people. It's almost a recurring theme, the amount of times that I've had to mention it. Well, how many of you could say that if you can go back in time, you can go back a year from now, do you believe that you could accomplish more than you accomplished in the last year? If so, man, raise your hand. And I ask you, if you're looking on your phone or if you're on a computer, or if you're watching this on your television, raise your hand because I want you to develop some type of personal accountability for your behavior in the past year. So if you believe that you could have done more, if you look back on it than you did last year, put your hand up. I know when I look back on it, I could have. Let me tell you a mistake that I made, and I mention it often. In the year of 1998, I quit my job at Texas Instruments and I moved to the Olympic Training Center. I had to actually go out on a limb. And I tell people all the time that you have to go out on a limb because that's where the fruit is. I went out on a limb. I quit my job where I was making upwards of $70,000 to $85,000 a year, depending on the bonus structure, and I quit. I ran through all of my savings while I was training at the Olympic Training Center in about 18 months. I moved to Colorado Springs. I tried to make the team in 2000. When I left my job, I told myself, I'm going to the Olympics. 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 And in the year of 2000, I went to the Olympics. I went to the Olympic Games as an alternate. My world, the universe, my requests lined themselves up and gave me exactly what I asked for. I asked to go to the Olympics. And what happened was I went to the Olympics. I never really thought about it until later, until I began reading certain books. And I understand that, the things that you think about and the things that you request, those things actually come to pass. I had to understand that as a man thinketh, so is he. I had to understand that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And I was always saying, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to go to the Olympics. And I didn't understand that I made a way for myself to go to the Olympics. I had sponsorship letters. I was petitioning friends and family members. I was working as a substitute teacher. I was scrounging up all my coins and money, and I went to the Olympics as an alternate in the year of 2000. I watched the Olympian walk around the track, someone who was my friend. I cried during the opening ceremonies as I watched it on TV, on a closed circuit television option that was provided by the United States Olympic Committee. And I vowed that I would not make that mistake again. After the 2000 Olympics, I began to tell myself that I will make an Olympic team. And in 2004, man, I made an Olympic team. I made an Olympic team. I went to the Olympics. I had a knockdown, drag out match with the Olympic silver medalist. And I thought to myself after it was all over, I said, man, I made the same mistake again. I said, I asked to make an Olympic team and I made an Olympic team. I said, I should have been asking to be an Olympic medalist, to be an Olympic gold medalist, to be a world champion. But I never made that particular request because at the time I didn't believe it. And I wish I had somebody who could have coached me during that particular period of time, to not just coach me physically, because I had sports psych coaches, I had strength and conditioning coaches, I had a technique coach, I had a Newaza coach. I had all these coaches in place, but I didn't have someone to specifically coach me in the psychomotor. Well, I did in the psychomotor, but not in the affective domain to make sure that the things that they were coaching me in the affective domain matched up in the psychomotor domain so that my thought processes would match up with my behaviors. I didn't have anybody to do that. The sports psych person I had was great. We were just focused on performance. I needed someone specifically focused on how I think and the messages that I give to myself. So someone asked me, how do I accomplish all the things that I accomplish? I'm able to do it now because I watch my mouth. And I gave you that whole preamble today to give you the title of today's Coffee with Rhadi. Today's Coffee with Rhadi is watch your mouth. Watch what you say about you. Watch what you believe about you. Yeah, it's silly when we go to church and they say you need to speak over yourself. You need to speak over your life. You do need to speak over your life. You need to say that which you want. Not just write it down. You should definitely write the vision. But you have to write it and you have to say it. You have to speak it. I'm not going to tell you about the things that I speak over my life and speak to myself. You know why? Because you would say that they're arrogant. You'll say that you don't believe them and you'll say that they sound ridiculous. You need to have a ridiculous amount of faith over your life and what you believe that you can do. And you need to keep some things to yourself because they will be so ridiculous that your friends won't believe you. Think of how ridiculous the man's thought process was who believed that he could run a mile under 4 minutes. If he told his friends that, his friends would laugh at him. And when his friends and if his friends laughed at him, that's a message that he doesn't need to process in his mind. So it's better for him to keep that to himself, to speak to that thing by himself, and to have a coach who can speak that into him. And watch your mouth. Watch what you say. And the second thing is watch the people who are around you. You have to get to a point where it's great to have haters. It's a great colloquial thing that's going out right now in the public, in the media, online. It's cool to have haters. It is better to have supporters. When you get to a certain place, you're going to have to leave a lot of people. And the pyramidal structure of life, if you look at a pyramid, the haters are going to be at the bottom. There's going to be a lot of haters. There's only going to be a few supporters at the top. You're going to have to align yourself with those particular supporters. And even if you have haters, you're going to have to start filtering the messages that come into your mind and that you hear. This is why there's certain athletes and superstars who have a company or someone take over their social media. They don't need to hear those things when they're preparing for a big game, a big role, or they're preparing to do something fantastic or great. You have to cut yourself off from the regular people when you're getting ready to do something extraordinary. You can't speak to them. They're not going to understand where you are. And people are in your life for a certain season, and people are in your life for a certain reason. But when your particular reason doesn't become reasonable for them, you got to move. They're not able to reason that what you think about, that what you want to do. You have to leave. You have to cut off communication from those individuals. You can't allow them to speak to you a certain way, and you can't speak to yourself a certain way. So you have to watch your mouth, and you have to watch the mouths of those around you. And the third thing of how you can accomplish some great things, how you can do more than you thought that you were ever able to do, is that your behavior has to be consistent with what you say. Your behavior has to be consistent with what you say. First thing, watch your mouth. Second thing, watch the mouths of the people around you. And the third thing is to make sure that your behavior is congruent with what you say. This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson. I hope today's Coffee with Rhadi was beneficial for you. It was beneficial for me because I enjoy sharing with you. And the more I share with you, the more I get back in return. Please do me a favor and visit www.coffeewithradi.com. If you don't have the best-selling book, Coffee with Rhadi, in your hand right now, do it today. Take care and have a wonderful